a truck, a pack of bears, and a shocking twist you won't believe. On a chilly autumn morning, Daniel loaded his old red truck with camping gear. He had been waiting for this weekend for months. A solo trip deep into Pine Valley, away from the noise of city life. The forest promised peace, fresh air, and a break from the screens and deadlines that ruled his world. As he adjusted the tarp covering his supplies, his best friend Liam waved from the driveway. "Sure you don't want company, man?" Liam asked with a grin. "Nah, I need this alone time," Daniel chuckled. "You know, clear my head, reset a bit." "Well, stay safe. Watch out for bears." Liam's grin faded slightly, half joking, half serious. "Bears? Pff, I'll scare them away with my charming personality," Daniel teased, hopping into the truck. The drive to Pine Valley was serene, the highway stretching through golden fields and forests, painted in hues of orange and red. Daniel hummed along to his playlist, excitement bubbling inside him. By noon, he reached the gravel road leading to the valley. Towering pine trees lined the path, their shadows dancing in the soft breeze. After driving another hour, he found the perfect clearing by a serene lake. He parked the truck, unloaded his gear, and set up camp. The air smelled of pine and earth, and the only sounds were birds chirping and leaves rustling. As the sun dipped behind the trees, Daniel sat by the campfire, sipping coffee from his tin mug. The flames crackled softly, casting flickering shadows. He felt a rare sense of calm wash over him. Suddenly, a rustling sound broke the tranquility. Daniel's heart skipped a beat. He grabbed his flashlight and shone it toward the trees. Nothing. He chuckled nervously. "Relax, it's probably just a squirrel or something." But the rustling grew louder, closer. The hair on his neck stood up. He stood, muscles tense, ready for what exactly? He didn't know. Then out of the darkness, they emerged. Not one, not two, but a pack of bears, massive, dark, and undeniably real. Their eyes glinted in the firelight. Daniel's mind raced. Bears weren't supposed to move in packs, were they? He stumbled backward, nearly tripping over a log. The bears didn't charge. They simply stood there watching him. One of them, larger than the rest, took a deliberate step forward. "Easy, easy," Daniel whispered, his voice trembling. Then something even more unexpected happened. The lead bear spoke. "Do you always invade someone else's home without permission?" Daniel's jaw dropped. His brain struggled to process what he had just heard. A talking bear? That was impossible. I'm sorry." "What?" he stammered. "You heard me," the bear said calmly. "This is our territory. You humans think you can just waltz in and do whatever you want." Daniel blinked, wondering if he had inhaled some strange forest fumes. "I didn't mean to intrude. I just needed some peace and quiet," the bear snorted. "Peace and quiet? In our home?" The other bears growled softly, a low rumble that made Daniel's knees wobble. "Look, I'll pack up and leave if that's what you want," Daniel offered, his voice shaking. The lead bear tilted its head. "Not so fast. We need to have a conversation." "A conversation? With a bear? Do I look like just any bear to you?" Daniel couldn't argue with that. "Okay, what do you want to talk about?" The bear's eyes gleamed. "The balance between nature and humans. But first, dinner." "Dinner?" Before Daniel could react, the bears turned and vanished into the woods. He stood there, heart racing, unsure whether to laugh, run, or sit back down. The twists had only just begun. The fire crackled as Daniel stood frozen, replaying the bizarre encounter in his mind. Talking bears? A conversation about nature? Maybe he was hallucinating. Perhaps the solitude had gotten to him quicker than he expected. But before he could rationalize any further, the bushes rustled again. His heart raced, expecting the bears to return with their dinner plans. Instead, a sleek black wolf with piercing amber eyes emerged from the shadows. Great, Daniel thought. First talking bears, now wolves. The wolf circled him slowly, its gaze unyielding. "You look confused," it said smoothly, its voice deep and authoritative. Daniel's jaw dropped. "You've got to be kidding me." "No, I'm quite serious," the wolf replied. "This forest has rules, rules you humans constantly ignore." Daniel stumbled back against a tree, his head spinning. "Am I dreaming? Did I hit my head? What's going on? The wolf sat down calmly, its eyes never leaving Daniel. You're not dreaming. This place is different from your world. Here, nature speaks, and right now, we have a problem with your kind. My kind, Daniel echoed. I haven't done anything. I just wanted a quiet weekend. And yet here you are, disrupting the balance, the wolf said sharply. Your campfire, your truck, your noise. It all affects us. Daniel shook his head. Okay, look, I get it. I'll pack up and leave. No harm done. The wolf's expression darkened. It doesn't work that way. You've been chosen. Chosen for what? To understand, the wolf said cryptically. Follow me. Follow you? Into the dark woods? Are you insane? The wolf's lips curled into what might have been a smile. Do you really have a choice? Daniel glanced around, realizing how isolated he was. Reluctantly, he grabbed his flashlight and followed the wolf into the forest. The trees loomed tall, their branches twisting like skeletal arms. The forest seemed to hum with ancient energy, each step heavier than the last. Daniel's instincts screamed at him to turn back, but curiosity, and a strange sense of duty, kept him moving forward. After what felt like an eternity, they reached a clearing illuminated by a pale moonlight. In the center stood the pack of bears, their dark forms blending with the shadows. The lead bear stepped forward. You're late, it rumbled. I had doubts, the wolf admitted. The bear's eyes locked onto Daniel. Are you ready to listen? Daniel's mouth went dry. Do I have a choice? No, the bear said bluntly. Suddenly, the ground beneath Daniel trembled. Vines shot up from the earth, wrapping around his legs. He gasped, struggling to break free, but the vines only tightened their grip. What is this? He shouted. Truth, the wolf said simply. The forest seemed to come alive, ancient voices whispering through the wind. Images flashed before Daniel's eyes. Clear rivers turned murky, forests reduced to stumps, animals fleeing from relentless machines. He saw humanity's greed, destruction, and carelessness laid bare. Daniel's chest tightened. I didn't know. Now you do, the bear said gravely. What will you do with this knowledge? The vines released him, and Daniel collapsed to the ground, gasping for breath. His mind reeled from the overwhelming visions. I can't fix everything, he whispered. I'm just one person. The wolf stepped closer. But you can start somewhere. Daniel's pulse slowed as realization dawned. His trip wasn't just about escaping the city. It was about finding purpose. I'll do better, he promised, his voice steadier now. I don't know how yet, but I will. The bear nodded solemnly. Then our work here is done. Just like that, the bears and the wolf faded into the shadows, leaving Daniel alone under the vast, starry sky. The twists weren't over yet. Daniel knew this was just the beginning. As dawn broke over Pine Valley, Daniel sat by the smoldering remains of his campfire, replaying the surreal events of the night before. The talking bears, the mysterious wolf, the strange visions. None of it made sense, yet it felt profoundly real. The forest had returned to its peaceful state, as if nothing had happened. Birds chirped, leaves rustled, and the lake mirrored the pastel hues of the morning sky. But Daniel knew something had changed within him and in the forest around him. Determined not to waste time, he packed up his gear and loaded the truck. As he secured the last strap, a strange sound caught his attention, a faint buzzing, like a swarm of bees. He frowned, scanning the tree line. The noise grew louder, mechanical and jarring against the natural harmony of the woods. A sudden crash echoed through the valley, followed by the shrill whine of chainsaws. Daniel's heart sank. Logging? Here? Driven by instinct, he sprinted toward the sound, dodging branches and leaping over roots. The air grew thick with the scent of sawdust and diesel. When he reached the source of the chaos, his worst fears were confirmed. A crew of workers in neon vests were felling trees, their massive machines tearing through the forest like ravenous beasts. Hey! Daniel shouted, waving his arms. What are you doing? One of the workers, a burly man with a thick beard, looked up from his saw. Clearing land for development. Got permits and everything, buddy. You can't do this, Daniel protested. This forest is protected. The man shrugged. Not anymore. Company bought the rights. Now step back before you get hurt. Anger flared in Daniel's chest. He thought of the bears, the wolf, and the vision they had shown him. The balance was already fragile, and this would destroy it completely. As if summoned by his thoughts, a low growl rumbled from the shadows. The worker paused, his eyes narrowing. What was that? Daniel knew. The bears had returned. The pack emerged from the trees, their presence commanding and fierce. The workers froze, eyes wide with disbelief. Bears? One of them whispered. In broad daylight? The lead bear, the same one who had spoken to Daniel, stepped forward. Its eyes locked onto him, as if waiting for a cue. Daniel swallowed hard. They won't hurt you, he said to the workers, but you need to leave. Now. The bearded man laughed nervously. Leave? From some dumb bears? You're crazy. The bear's deep voice cut through the tension. We are not dumb, human. The workers recoiled, their faces pale. Did that bear just talk? Yeah, it did, Daniel confirmed, stepping forward. And trust me, you don't want to mess with them. Panic spread through the crew as the bears advanced, their growls intensifying. Machines were abandoned as men scrambled to flee. Within moments, the clearing was silent, except for the rustle of leaves and the distant hum of retreating engines. Daniel exhaled in relief. Thanks, he said to the bear. This isn't over, the bear warned. They'll be back, and in greater numbers. Daniel's mind raced. Then we need to stop them for good. But how? The wolf's voice echoed from behind him. Sometimes the solution lies in the heart of the problem. Daniel turned to see the wolf emerge from the shadows. What does that mean? You'll see, the wolf said cryptically. Before Daniel could ask more, the bear gestured toward the dense part of the forest. Follow us. With a deep breath, Daniel nodded. The journey wasn't over, and the twists were only getting wilder. Daniel followed the bears and the wolf deeper into the forest, his boots crunching against the thick underbrush. The air grew cooler, thick with the scent of moss and ancient wood. The trees here were taller, their trunks wide and gnarled as though they'd stood witness to countless seasons. Where are we going? Daniel asked, his breath heavy from the fast pace. To the heart of the forest, the wolf replied, the place where nature's power is strongest. Daniel raised an eyebrow. Nature's power? What is this? Some kind of fantasy novel? The wolf glanced at him sharply. You're walking with talking bears and a wolf, and now you question reality? Fair point, Daniel thought, deciding to keep his skepticism in check. After what felt like miles, they arrived at a vast clearing. At its center stood a colossal tree, its trunk shimmering faintly as though infused with silver light. Vines spiraled up its massive branches, and flowers in hues Daniel had never seen before bloomed around its roots. This is incredible, he whispered. This is the heartwood, the lead bear said solemnly, the source of the forest's strength. If this tree falls, the entire valley dies. Daniel's awe turned to concern. And the logging company, if they keep cutting, they'll find this place eventually. Exactly, the bear confirmed. Daniel clenched his fists. We have to stop them. The wolf stepped forward. Nature can protect itself, but sometimes it needs allies. That's why you're here. Me? What can I do against a whole corporation? You'd be surprised, the wolf said cryptically. The lead bear gestured toward the heartwood. Place your hand on the tree. What? Do it, the bear urged. Hesitant but trusting, Daniel approached the shimmering trunk. The bark was warm under his palm, thrumming with energy. Suddenly, a surge of power coursed through him, and vivid images flooded his mind. Animals thriving, rivers running clear, and the land flourishing without human interference. But then the vision shifted. He saw bulldozers tearing through the forest, fires raging, and lifeless landscapes stretching as far as the eye could see. The devastation was overwhelming. Daniel yanked his hand away, gasping. I saw everything, the good and the bad. That is what's at stake, the bear said gravely. Now you understand. Daniel's resolve hardened. I won't let that happen. But how do we fight them? The wolf's eyes gleamed. We fight with truth and determination. You'll need to rally the people, show them what's at risk. Humans listen to voices like yours. Daniel nodded, his mind racing with ideas. Okay, I'll contact environmental groups, get media attention, make it impossible for the company to continue without backlash. The bear's expression softened. Good. But remember, this fight won't be easy. Daniel smiled faintly. Nothing worthwhile ever is. As the animals faded back into the shadows, Daniel stood before the heartwood, determination coursing through him. He knew the battle ahead would be fierce, but for the first time, he felt truly connected to something bigger than himself. The twists weren't over, but Daniel was ready for whatever came next. Back in the city, Daniel wasted no time. He called environmental groups, reached out to journalists, and posted his story online, though he left out the part about talking animals. Instead, he focused on the untouched beauty of Pine Valley and the catastrophic consequences of the logging operation. The response was overwhelming. His post went viral, drawing thousands of comments and shares. People were outraged at the planned destruction of such a pristine forest. Environmental activists organized protests, while journalists demanded answers from the logging company. Days later, Daniel found himself standing in front of a crowd at a press conference near the forest's edge. Banners reading "Save Pine Valley" fluttered in the breeze, and camera lenses pointed in his direction. He took a deep breath. This forest is more than just trees and wildlife. It's a living, breathing ecosystem that supports countless forms of life. Destroying it for profit isn't just reckless, it's immoral. We have a responsibility to protect it, not just for ourselves, but for future generations. The crowd erupted in applause. The logging company's representatives, standing stiffly to the side, looked visibly uncomfortable. Under mounting pressure from the media and public outcry, they had already paused operations, but Daniel knew that wasn't enough. They needed a permanent solution. After the conference, a government official approached Daniel. "Your campaign's made quite an impact. We're reviewing the permits and might designate Pine Valley as a protected reserve." Daniel's heart soared. "That's great news. Please don't stop until it's official." The official nodded. "We won't." As the weeks passed, Daniel's efforts paid off. Pine Valley was officially declared a protected reserve, safe from exploitation. The logging company withdrew, and nature was left to thrive undisturbed. One crisp morning, Daniel returned to the forest. He walked the familiar path, his footsteps light with triumph. The air was fresher, the trees standing tall as guardians of a preserved paradise. At the clearing near the heartwood, the wolf and the lead bear waited. "You did well," the bear said, its deep voice filled with approval. "Wasn't just me," Daniel said humbly. "People cared once they knew the truth." The wolf nodded. "Truth is a powerful weapon. Few wield it wisely." Daniel smiled. "So what now? Is this goodbye?" "For now," the bear said. "But remember, the balance is delicate. Always stay vigilant." "I will," Daniel promised. As the animals faded back into the forest, Daniel stood alone, feeling a profound sense of peace. He had come seeking solitude but found purpose instead. One person's voice, when fueled by truth and determination, can ignite change and protect the world for generations to come. Sometimes nature doesn't just need protection, it needs allies brave enough to fight for it.